Rivals brought to you by Utah Eye Centers has arrived, and we are going to our favorite and our least favorite places to play the great game of football.
Have plenty of those.
You have many happy places?
Many happy
Where's
places.
your happy place, Jason?
Well, you know, obviously my home field is always a happy place. The, Cougar Stadium here at BYU, LaVelle Edwards Stadium now. But, my college, the pro days, Bengals and Riverfront and RFK. Gosh, RFK was an awesome place to play. Just loved it. But I loved playing at Cleveland Municipal back in the day.
Yeah?
I thought that was just one of those. Yeah, it's football. It was an old stadium.
It was a very old stadium.
80,000 people in the stands.
And the columns would come down and kind of.
Yeah.
There was a great ambiance in Cleveland Municipal.
Cleveland. It was a great ambiance.
That to me was a great place too.
Old showers. I walked in the locker room and I went,
I wouldn't know if I called them shower.
It was bad. Yeah. Rusty pipes. You had to duck and walk under them. Slimy floors. I'm telling you, that locker room was just terrible.
And it was designed for baseball.
Yeah.
So you had like 24 lockers. So it was like
you're kind
of all packed into this little small space.
Ducking under these old rusty pipes. I still remember that. But going out on the
and it was
field,
on the lake, and it just kind of had that whole
ambiance.
The whole thing, and the dog pound.
The dog pound and the D line. The line had to all warm up in the end zone always, and we'd do our warm ups, and you'd see the dog pound guys, their dog faces on, and you'd be down in your stance, going through your little warm-ups, and you'd be getting hit with these little bones, the little dog food bones they'd throw at you. I loved it. And they're cat calling you, and yelling at you. I loved playing in Cleveland.
And it had this. It was a horseshoe, and the one end zone away from the open part of the field. The fans were far away from actually the end zone. So it was like in one end you had this really intimate experience, and then in the other end you were just kind of in this cavernous place.
Right.
And you went down underneath the dugout. That's how you exited off the field. You went down into a dugout. So
just like we did at RFK. We had to walk down in through the dugout.
Very special place to play.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I'll tell you another, of course we love our home stadiums, right?
Yeah.
The Pontiac Silverdome, I kind of hated, but what was nice about it is that everyone hated it more because it was a hard place to travel to get to. You had to fly in it was over an hour just to fly into Detroit Metro Airport, and then so the travel on teams tended to be kind of a harder challenge, and so we kind of felt that it was a bit of an advantage. So that was a good home field. Of course, in Miami was always a great, you had that great home field advantage. It was a little difficult early on in the season when they still were playing baseball, because you had that baseball infield, which is infield is basically concrete. I mean, they make it so hard so they get really pure ground balls, so there's no softness into the actual dirt. And then, of course, it makes
you get down your stance. You have to go. All of a sudden, you're from grass, and all of a sudden you're over in that dirt infield area, and it's chalked off, and you're down in your stance, and you've got your footing's terrible, coming out of that. It's just.
And then once the baseball season's over and they sod it in, it's kind of mushy and soft, and it doesn't quite fit together until later in the season. But always loved warm weather places. So Miami was great, to throw. And to be a quarterback in, defensive guys, it's a little bit different. But I'll tell you one place that I'm surprised I like it, but I love to play there, was Lambeau Field. There was just something about, and I know I make the frozen tundra, all that stuff, but it was really, it was the fans there, although they were against you, were really, they were decent, respecting fans. And the stadium just popped up out of nowhere. It was like it was in a neighborhood. It's not in this downtown area, or it just. I remember the driving on the bus the first time I went there, and I was like, we're driving through someone's neighborhood. There's all these houses and trees and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, just boom, out of nowhere, here's Lambeau Field. And I'm like, that's Lambeau Field, And so it was just an odd thing. And then the stadium is just has a very special magic to it. Along with that, they have incredible brats, and they would always give us. Well, we'd make sure we got them when we left the game. So you had something. You're really hungry after the game. Have them on the bus as you drive to the airport. Loved Lambeau Field, and it's still great today. I mean, it's really one of those places that because there is so much of this change in tradition. They're building these mammoth, multi-purpose.
All of our stadiums are changing.
It's an indoor-outdoor stadium, and so some of that traditional mystique is definitely.
I was so excited
lost.
to play at Lambeau Field, Soldier Field. All these stadiums you grew up with, the old ones.
RFK, Cleveland Municipal. I'll tell you though, here is a bad one. Okay. A bad one. Hate this.
We agree 100% on this.
The worst stadium ever was the Vet in Philadelphia. It was just the worst stadium.
So brutal.
Hated it.
It was
awful.
turf was absolute worst, and the seams in it were about 2 inches. It blew more knees and ruined more football careers than any field in.
So it was a baseball and a football stadium, but it was similar in its design to Three Rivers and Cincinnati Riverfront, and it was this kind of circular, and they would rotate the bleachers to fit the different venues. The Astrodome was actually similar, but it was a dome inside, and so you have a baseball, football on artificial turf. And what they would do is they would actually they would take the base pass out and around the base for the baseball game. So they would just remove the turf.
Right.
Well, when the football game, they put it back in.
It's like plug it in, like a bottle cap.
And it didn't fit together nicely. It's like, come on, you have the technology to put someone on the moon. Can't you get the seams? Yeah. And they weren't. And some of the worst injuries ever. Wendell Davis blew out both of his knees, actually both of his kneecaps, on that awful turf. Have you ever watched the movie Invincible? And it kind of actually makes you halfway like Philadelphia Eagles fans in that stadium. You kind of start rooting for them a little bit. But I'm telling you, the worst fans in the world.
Oh, they are just ruthless. So bad.
And they're happy that I'm actually saying this right now. It's a badge of courage to the Philadelphia Eagles fans. But by far, the playing conditions on the field and the turf and the whole experience. Now, I haven't played in the new stadium. Lincoln Financial.
I haven't been there.
And it actually looks halfway decent.
I'm
it's
sure
got the natural grass and all that stuff.
But I had a really bad injury playing at the Vet, and I blew out my big toe, which people don't realize. Football players all know how bad this hurts. It's one of the worst injuries you can ever have, because the big toe, every bit of muscle in your strength of your body comes off that big toe. And I was splitting a double team, between it with the guard and tackle, and you got to set on it.
Do you know how silly this sounds?
And that big toe just popped. No, you'd hear it pop all the way through my body.
I hurt my big toe.
Oh, it does sound silly, but I'm telling you, your entire body.
You're a
goes
big
off
defensive
that.
lineman, and you got a little boo-boo on your toe?
I got the turf toe, buddy.
You got a little toe boo-boo?
Totally dislocated. And it was bad.
Well, you got 9 others. You don't need that toe.
Did I ever stop playing? No, I played on it. They'd shoot it up and, numb it, and I'd keep playing and tape it up and keep going. I never missed a game for it, but it was painful. I'm
just joking.
No, I know. I walk up the stairs of my house afterwards.
I know it is one of the worst. You think about it. It's like, come on, it's your toe. It can't be that bad. It is that bad.
It's one of the worst.
I had a similar type of injury. I actually had a 3rd-degree separation on my shoulder. Yeah. It was in a very historic game. Coach Shula had was going to win his all-time greatest number of games in that game. And halfway through the 3rd quarter, I actually had one of your compatriots there land on my shoulder, defensive lineman, as I was diving forward. So that does play into my hatred of Veterans Stadium.
Oh,
not a lot of fun.
It was a terrible place.
Rivals has arrived, and now it's time to go. You can text Rivals to 65537. Go to all those social sites and like us, and of course, be smart. Dial us in on our smartphone. This round of Rivals is over.
We're off to our corners.
I'm not Scott Mitchell.
And I'm not Scott Mitchell.
We are related. We'll catch you soon.